The film opens on a perspective on a ruined snow-covered mountainscape with the words, "Sometime in the distant past in the new future a nation turned out badly." The nation was known as the Republic of Gilead. A lady, Natasha Richardson, her better half, and their kid, Blair Struble, are driving up the mountains in their vehicle towards the boundary of the Republic of Gilead. They approach the boundary by walking. As they get closer, however, are spotted by watches from the Republic before they can cross. Kate's significant other is shot while attempting to divert the gatekeepers so his family can get away, and she is caught and isolated from her little girl. The scene slices to a city road, where ladies, counting Kate, are being dumped from a back of an enormous truck and crowded into a structure. Different trucks are dumping also, albeit some are brimming with men or individuals of color. Note, the term African American isn't altogether suitable in that frame of mind, as this isn't America. Individuals are coordinated by race, orientation, and among white ladies, their ripeness. As the ladies' ripeness results are perused out loud, one negative ladies descends and is powerfully out of hand. The barren ladies are constrained into an enormous truck with the first name, domesticated animals, crossed out, and 116 female, composed up and over. As the truck pulls away, probably set out toward the States, the ladies' arms should be visible waving for help through the supports. A gathering of blacks endeavor to get away yet are halted and driven away. The fruitful ladies are met by Auntie Lydia, Victoria Tennant, one of the rulers of the handmaids, per se, and board a transport set out toward the Red Place. The windows are covered up, however Kate can see ladies wearing facial coverings and gloves scooping soil and shakes, probably defiled, along the course through a scratch in the paint. The lady Kate sits close to, Moira, Elizabeth McGovern, asks her how long she was in, yet Kate answers she doesn't have any idea. Kate and Moira momentarily trade motivations behind why they were detained, and we discover that Moira is lesbian, an offense which could mean being shipped off the provinces. However, as Moira puts it, they don't send you to the settlements assuming your ovaries are as yet bouncing. The bus station's at a religious circle, where a few nuns are compelled to board as they request with the gatekeepers that they can't make me break my promises. At the Red Place, 3 bodies swing from the wall for violations unexplained, 1 handmaid and 2 men. Inside the middle, which is actually a changed-over school, the prolific ladies are planning for bed in the old exercise room by singing a song finishing with the words, "Leave us void to be filled." The ladies petition God for God to make them productive, and one of the ladies opposes by tossing her bed at one of the aunties. She is hauled from the room shouting while the other ladies proceed with the request. Once in bed, the ladies are continually watched by cameras and watching aunties. They unobtrusively murmur their names, and Kate has a flashback to the last time she saw her girl. The following morning at breakfast the ladies are given a cup of pills, yet Moira urges Kate to dump the pills down her sleeve instead of take them. Afterward, they are grouped with metal arm bands with a scanner tag on them. The ladies are given history examples of their country. Auntie Lydia makes sense of that. The air was excessively loaded with synthetic compounds, and accordingly just 1% of ladies can in any case bear youngsters, and the people who decide not to work, lethargic ladies, skanks. The following scene is night in the rec center once more, and 2 aunties approach the bed of a lady and escort her out. The next morning at breakfast, her shouts are heard as she is driven into the feasting lobby. Kate sees that her feet have been severely beaten. In the book it was made sense of that this beating was finished with metal links. Auntie Lydia says that she hates to rebuff her, however she mishandled her body. It is inferred that this lady's jerked off, in light of the fact that Auntie Lydia makes sense of that, men can't resist, yet we are unique. We have poise. Kate is riding toward the rear of a vehicle with Auntie Lydia through the city to a potential handmaid task. Auntie Lydia makes sense of that Kate shouldn't consider herself equivalent to a spouse, and it would be a significant privilege assuming she is picked. A truck brimming with blacks drives past, offering a Holocaust-like scene of the gathering together of dirty individuals. Kate is acquainted with Serena Euphoria, Faye Dunaway, who makes sense of the connection among spouses and handmaids. Serena lets Kate know that she needs to have a child for the circumstance to work and that they could help one another. Back at the Red community, the ladies participate in a savage pseudo-treatment meeting. Auntie Lydia asks Janine, Tracy Lind, to make sense of why the past was horrendous. Janine tells an account of how she was assaulted at a party at 14 years old and had an early termination therefore. The ladies wheeze in shock/repulsiveness at the prospect of a fetus removal, and Janine makes sense of that. It wasn't my shortcoming, my mom wouldn't allow me to have the child. It is obvious that the ladies have proactively been unquestionably somewhat programmed to trusting the Republic of Gilded's way of thinking on pregnancy and early termination. The aunties request the gathering from ladies whose shortcoming it truly was, and who drove the young men on, to which they answer, her issue, and she did. Those couple of in the gathering who are not currently unyielding in that frame of mind to Janine, counting Kate and Moira, are nudged until they concur. Toward the finish of the meeting, Janine separates into tears and says she didn't intend to make it happen, and that she merits the aggravation. Kate sees that she's going off the deep end, and Moira says they're in an insane asylum. Kate and Moira meet in the washroom, where Moira uncovers she has an arrangement to escape by professing to be wiped out and paying off the rescue vehicle orderlies with sexual blessings. Kate and different ladies accept their authority: handmade clothing, red dresses with dark socks and a red cloak. While they are dressing, Janine accepts she is back in her previous lifestyle as a server and continues to inquire as to whether anybody would like espresso. It isn't until Moira truly slaps her that she understands where she really is. At the congregation, the handmaids stand while the spouses sit. The pastor let the handmaids know that they are going on a mission to satisfy their lives for the more prominent greatness of God. He relates the inescapable imprudence of womankind, including sexual wantonness, broad early termination, conception prevention, unnaturally conceived children, and hereditary designing. Moira pivots to check out at Kate, then implodes to the floor, evidently oblivious. As the handmaids are covered with their red cloak, the pastor says, "The Hebrew scriptures will be our sole and just constitution." Here Kate has one more flashback to the second her significant other was shot. In the vehicle en route to her position, Kate visually connects with the officer's driver, Scratch, Aidan Quinn, however she shouldn't check different men out. At the house, Kate is shown her room, and Serena makes sense of that. Kate's new name is Offred. Fred is the name of the leader, Robert Duvall, so her name is, of Fred. In the room, the lower plates of window glass have been covered up, and the mirror in the washroom is also. By and by, Kate sees her little girl looking for her in the snow. Kate and Serena watch the news while holding up of the leader to return home. The news makes sense of how the conflict is going, and that fruitful ladies are the Republic's most valuable asset. The reporter says, "We are weeding out the tricksters. We are getting rid of the atheist. We are winning God's battle." The leader shows up and plays out the service with Serena and Kate/Offred. He peruses from the Book of Beginning Part 30. It is here that the genuine reason for handmaids is uncovered. Spouses have intercourse with them, trying to consider where they couldn't with their own wives. Kate lies on a bed between Serena's legs while the officer engages in sexual relations with her. The thought being that a spouse isn't being untrustworthy to his significant other, assuming that she is available. The real sex is deadpan for the commandant, excruciating for Kate, and genuinely challenging for Serena. When back in her room, Kate takes off her dress and sprinkles water on herself in the restroom. She jumps on a seat so she can see out of the unpainted piece of the window. Scratch, who lives in the carriage house across the way, sees her exposed body in the window and cautions her to leave. Kate goes out on the town to shop of the family with Ofglin, who lives close by. The food is bought with apportion cards, and Ofglin is eager to see oranges at the store. Obviously, getting food from California and Florida is troublesome because of renegade impedance. In the city, a spouse and her pregnant handmaid Off Warren, officially known as Janine, are commended. One night Kate finds it challenging to rest and goes ground floor, where she tracked down some scissors in Serena's sewing crate. Similarly, as she gets them, Scratch comes into the room. The two start to kiss genuinely, however at that point Scratch tells her that she should go to the leader's office the following evening and suddenly leaves. The following morning, Kate passes Scratch as he is washing the vehicle. He welcomes her wonderfully, yet she expresses nothing to her. Kate asks Ofglin what happened to the past Offred, however Ofglin never met her. The commandant asks Serena how Kate is turning out, and tells her that he believes her should be blissful. That evening, Scratch accompanies Kate to the review, where shockingly the authority makes sense of that he just needs to get to realize her better by playing Scrabble. It is uncovered that Kate was a curator in when ladies were as yet permitted to work. The leader then, at that point, says that he'll be away for 7 days, in which time Kate will get back to the Red community. Serena says she could figure out what happened to Kate's girl, under the ramifications that Kate effectively consider. On the drive back to the Red place, Kate and Scratch visually engage in the survey reflect once more. Kate is analyzed to check whether she's pregnant and the specialist proposes that the officer is sterile and offers his assistance to inspire her to consider. It is additionally uncovered that the functions haven't been happening during when Kate is probably going to get pregnant. She is informed that she has another prior month she is up for reassessment. In the rec center, Janine discusses her pregnancy. She is currently called off Warren. Kate sees Moira, whose arrangement to escape didn't work. That evening, Moira tells Auntie Lydia that one of the latrines is spilling over and she overwhelms Auntie Lydia while Kate helps her take her garments and tie, gag, and blindfold her. Moira attaches Auntie Lydia to a latrine, gets into her dress, and leaves. Auntie Lydia never really saw Kate, so she isn't faulted for the capturing. Back at the commandant's home, Kate beats Fred at cards and he gives her Vogue and Cosmopolitan magazines. Kate is confounded regarding the reason why the commandant makes them see, as they're prohibited, yet he says that he's experienced enough as to not be confounded by them. Kate asks him for cream for her hands, and he concurs. At the following function, the administrator acts friendly towards Kate, driving Serena to be dubious. Kate later begs the officer not to seriously endanger her, but rather he doesn't appear to really focus on her circumstance despite the fact that they've been hanging out. The administrator uncovers that the last handmaid couldn't consider, so she hung herself. Serena proposes that Kate attempt to have a child with Scratch. Kate goes to Scratch's room over the carriage house that evening, and they kid about how she's come to perform her responsibility for the homeland. Scratch kisses her and conveys her to the bed where they strip one another and have, for absence of better words, undeniably more enthusiastic sex than the sex in the function. In the meantime, Serena watches an old video of herself singing on a TV program. Kate tells Scratch her genuine name, he just knew her as Offred. The following morning, Kate is feeling glad for once. She welcomes the house cleaner Rita, Lucille McIntyre, with "good day," and says, "It's a delightful day," as opposed to with an acknowledged Gilead welcoming, like having a typical, by our ongoing society's guidelines, sexual experience made her inquiry different viewpoints in her new life. Her positive state of mind is diminished in any case, when she discovers that her little girl is perfectly healthy, yet that she can never see her. That evening, she goes to visit Scratch and makes sense of that she doesn't have the foggiest idea what to do about her girl, and he endeavors to reassure her. Off Warren is starting to give birth, so the birth versatile comes to take Kate and the remainder of the handmaids to the birthing function. At the function, a band plays and the spouses dance while the handmaids do breathing activities with Off Warren. The spouses discuss the handmaids, calling them slogs, and trusting the birth will pick up the pace since they haven't got the entire evening. Kate sees a gathering of little kids about her girl's age and uncovers to Ofglin that her girl is living with individuals like these. While Off Warren conceives an offspring, the wife is sitting close to her, and when the child comes, the wife holds Off Warren down so she can't see the child. The spouse leaves the birthing room with the child while Offwarren is let be. Kate helps console her, as Offwarren is obviously disturbed. Offglyn lets Kate know that she isn't the only one, and to concentrate on the officer to figure out more about him. Kate asks the leader for what valid reason he does what does, and he says that the nation was wrecked in light of the fact that all the trash had ascended to the top: blacks, homo, individuals on government assistance, ladies. We needed to tidy it up on the grounds that no one knew how to feel any longer. The following scene is a rescuing. A gathering of handmaids get off a transport looking energized and stroll towards a field before a congregation. The spouses and housekeepers are there too. A platform is across for the congregation and the handmaids stoop close to a rope paving the way to the framework. Auntie Lydia makes sense of that the handmaid on the platform has been viewed as at real fault for enchantment and sex with an individual from the clinical staff. A sack and afterward the noose is set over the lady's neck and the handmaids draw on the rope, successfully killing her. The spouses and house cleaners sitting in the cheap seats close by give a deeply heartfelt applause. Auntie Lydia orders the handmaids to shape a circle and a severely beaten man is brought onto the field. Auntie Lydia makes sense of that he assaulted the handmaid, and the handmaids become creature-like and in a real sense destroy the man. Neither Kate nor Offglyn participate, and Offglyn makes sense of that the man was really a political individual from the radical gathering. Offwarren/Janine strolls by with blood all over conveying a piece of the man's scalp. Yet again she has returned to her server past, and tells the ladies to have a pleasant day. Offglyn uncovers that she also is essential for the political gathering and that Kate might be approached to kill the commandant. One evening, the commandant gives Kate a bygone-era dress, tempting as opposed to strict, and a boa. He takes her to a club of sorts, where there is prohibited music and ladies wearing undeniably more enchanting outfits than Kate's. The commandant orders drinks for Kate and himself, liquor should restrict it also. He says the ladies used to be experts and that they decided to function as whores as opposed to the other options. Kate sees Moira and the two meet in the washroom. Moira makes sense of that she got found out at the line attempting to get away and that she was given the decision of going to the States or working at the club. She attempts to pass it off that she doesn't track down it there, free medications, free alcohol, engaging in sexual relations with different ladies once more, yet Kate sees that Moira's left head is prosthetic. Moira makes sense of that she was worked over a smidgen, and helps Kate to remember Gilead's hypothesis that ladies needn't bother with their hands or feet. The commandant lets Kate know that she's better as a fortunate ducky than a dead ducky. Then he takes Kate to a room where they have intercourse. Back at the house, Scratch is distraught with Kate for going with the leader, however she makes sense of that she didn't actually have a decision. Kate lets him know that she's pregnant with his youngster and beseeches him to take off with her, yet he doesn't offer her a straight response. In her room, Kate tracks down a note that says, 10 p.m. tomorrow, alongside the switch cutting edge, probably from Offglyn. The following morning she finds that Offglyn has been supplanted and she doesn't know how to kill the officer. Serena faces Kate about the earlier night since she finds the boa that Kate wore to the club. Kate realizes Serena might have her shipped off the provinces, so she chooses to proceed with the arrangement of killing the administrator. Kate goes down to the administrator's review and implores him to help her, however he guarantees it's no longer any of his concern. At the point when he attempts to kiss her, Kate cuts his throat with the switch cutting edge. As the leader drains to death, Kate runs higher up to her room, yet a van loaded with equipped gatekeepers comes to the house. They escort Kate first floor, yet meet Serena in the corridor. She is somewhat dubious that they will be they since she says she didn't call for them. Scratch suggests that Kate has killed the authority and takes her out of the house. In the van, he makes sense of that the watchman and he are wary of Mayday, a radical gathering. Scratch eliminates Kate's following wristband and tells her that the men will take her to a protected spot. She maintains that him should accompany her, yet he says he needs to remain. The scene slices to a news broadcast, which makes sense of that a 24-hour time limitation is active and that house-to-house look are being finished to track down the professional killer, Kate. A while later we see an exceptionally pregnant Kate living in a trailer in the mountains. Her voiceover closes the film. I couldn't say whether this is an ideal end for me or a fresh start, however I'm protected here in the mountains held by the radicals. They bring me food and in some cases a message from scratch. Thus I pause. I trust that my child will be naturally introduced to an alternate world. I actually dream about Jill. About them telling her I don't exist. Or on the other hand that I won't ever exist. In any case, I realize we will view as her. She.